Hi everyone, I'm Gem and I work at the University of East Anglia. I'm here to talk to you today about preparing for university and preparing for your course in general. Many of you may be at different stages of your educational journey. Some of you may well be thinking about starting an access to higher education, or you may well be about to start a university course. Regardless of where you are in your journey, you may be keen to get the ball rolling in terms of what to expect and how to do this essentially. So this presentation, albeit very brief, will give you some tips, some hints and suggestions on what to do. So again, it's normal to have a lot of questions about what to expect from your experience of going to university or to college, including how to prepare. This section will look at all of this. So once you've applied to a university and you're holding a place, you will select two of your favourites, and that's called your firm and insurance choice universities. Your firm choice will typically have the higher entry requirements, with your insurance choice being a bit more of a backup for you. But of course, you're absolutely in charge of all the decisions you make regarding your educational future. Whilst you wait for the start of an academic year to come around, you may wish to keep an eye out on your emails, as universities and in many cases colleges as well will be in touch with you with any information relevant to your enrolment and will potentially invite you to do things such as take an online course or read information before you start. If you don't receive any instructions, however, this will often mean that there is absolutely no expectation for you to prepare before you go in. This is often because the academics on your course will have prepared an induction event for you, which will slowly start to introduce you to some of the content of the course and what you're going to be doing whilst you're studying. Now, you may wonder how you will know what to expect from the ways that universities teach, and this might be different to the teaching that you have experienced in the past. So in many instances, for example, particularly with both access and higher education learning, you will be asked to contribute more than perhaps you would have been in any prior education. The reason for this being that there's a more student-centered approach to learning. Therefore, you may well be asked to prepare for things like bring in a piece of reading, watch a video or a film, for example, depending on your course, and then bring that to the classroom to discuss at a later point. Now, moving on to the next slide, this is where we'd introduce you to the Future Learn platform. We at UEA have a Preparing for University course. We call it a MOOC, which means a massive open online course. And it's a completely free course for anyone entering university, so not just for anyone coming to UEA. Don't let the logo at the bottom there throw you off. Our academic teams have worked really, really hard to put this information together to help people transition as seamlessly as possible into university when you get there. So it will help you do things like understand what a lecture looks like. It will help you find out what a seminar is and the sorts of things you would do to prepare for those. And they will also help you with some of the mechanisms in learning as well. So perhaps get you to practice a few skills like critical analysis of text, time management, or perhaps even statistical analysis. There are very broad examples within the MOOC. So again, you will get to experience some of these things alongside explanations. This will beautifully complement the skills taught on the Access to Higher Education Diploma as well. So quite often you may wish to do the two things in unison, or if you're super keen to get started, you can of course have a look at this at any time that suits you. Now, finally, I just wanted to share a link to UEA's Resource Centre. Now, just to confirm with you guys, my role is to support mature students into education. So predominantly, wherever you choose to go institutionally, this Resource Centre and the MOOC will be a helpful tool for you. So again, don't let the UEA logo throw you off there. Now, the link here is everwondered.uea.ac.uk, and this will take you to a drop-down list where you can select mature student and then go into the back of our platform where you'll be able to find workbooks, videos, presentations, and a host of other really helpful resources. There are things in there as well around study skills, including things like time management and referencing, and they beautifully again complement that MOOC, so do go and have a look in there. Within the Resource Centre, you will also find my contact details, and I welcome questions from absolutely anyone. So please do get in touch if you have any further questions at all, or if you would like any further support. Now that's me. Thank you very much for hosting me today, Carver. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks.
Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation about advanced learner loans. My name is Ben and I am from Student Finance England. We are part of the wider student loans company and we administer the advanced learner loan service in the UK. So if you are applying for an advanced learner loan, then it's us who the application will be coming to. So I've been invited to give a brief overview about the wonderful world of advanced learner loans with a specific slant on the funding that's available for access to higher education diplomas. So hopefully when we finish this presentation, you guys will have a good idea about three of the main considerations and three of the main areas when it comes to advanced learner loans. So we'll touch on the general introduction and eligibility, what support is out there and are you eligible to get it, applications, how you go about applying for it, and also repayments. Understandably, you may have some concerns about how the repayment for student finance works. So hopefully in this last section, we'll tick off some of the answers to the questions that you may have about how repayment works. So I'd say with the first section, we'll just have a look at some of the eligibility. Now, some of this can be a little bit wordy, but I will give you some signposts to government websites where you can go and have a look to find out more information as you need it. So what in an advanced learner loan? Advanced learner loan has been put in place to help learners achieve further education qualifications in England. So they are available to help learners, yourselves, with the cost of your approved courses at college or training providers based in England. So the eligibility for advanced learner loans does not depend on your household income, so they're non-means tested, and there are no credit checks. And also student finance doesn't count as a black mark against any credit checks in the future if you are going for credit cards, mortgages, etc. Yes, lenders may ask if you do have any student finance, but at the end of the day, they won't have a full negative impact on what you can borrow because of the way the repayment system works and the fact that lenders can still see your disposable and available income. So how much advanced learner loan support you can get does depend on a few things: the type of course you take, and the course fees and the maximum loan available for your course. So the minimum you can access is £300, but any advanced learner loan you do access will be paid directly from ourselves to your college or training provider in instalments across the duration of your course once your attendance is confirmed. But importantly, if you do stop attending at any point, you decide the course isn't for you or you have to withdraw to for a personal reason, it's just important that you let ourselves and the training provider know so we can make sure that no further payments are made on your advanced learner loan. When it comes to age, you do need to be over 19 on the first day of your course. And when it comes to the courses themselves, it covers a whole range of further education courses, anywhere from level 3, 4, 5 or 6. And that includes things like A-levels and, importantly for today, access to HE diplomas. You can take them at approved colleges or training providers in England, but do, if you are unsure, ask your college or training provider if you aren't 100% sure if the course you are looking at is eligible. And if you are listening to this and you are from Scotland, Northern Ireland or Wales, the funding available to you may be slightly different, but you can follow the links on our pages on gov.uk/advanced learner loan for more information for funding from students from the other UK domiciles. Moving on to nationality and residency. So in most cases, there are a few main boxes that our learners and applicants need to tick. So you need to be living in the UK on the first day of your course. You need to be a UK national or have settled status, which means there's no restriction on how long you can stay in the UK, and that can be because you are just a UK citizen, you've got indefinite leave to remain, or you have settled status through the EU settlement scheme if you are an EU, EEA or Swiss national, and if you've been living in the UK or Ireland for 3 years before starting your course. However, there are a few exceptions to this. So if you do have, or your relevant family member has, a protected immigration status as awarded by the Home Office, again, you may be eligible for support. And some of those categories are things like refugee, humanitarian protection, stateless persons, Calais leave, or if you've been awarded indefinite leave to remain due to domestic violence or as a bereaved partner. And also there's something in place called long residency. So again, if you're not a UK national, but you've lived in the UK for at least 20 years or half of your life, then again, we may be able to consider you as eligible for advanced learner loans and other forms of student finance. Importantly, and quite topically for this year, as a result of Brexit, some of the rules and regulations for accessing student finance are changing. So if you are from the EU, EEA or Switzerland and you're starting courses in the UK from academic year 2021, you will need to have settled or pre-settled status under the EU settlement scheme. So if you are an EU, EEA or Swiss national and you are applying for advanced learner loans towards an access course, you will still need to tick a few other boxes as well. You will need to have been resident in the UK, Gibraltar, the EEA or Switzerland for 3 years prior to the first day of your course. And if you are an EEA or Swiss national with pre-settled status, then you need to qualify as a family member of an EU national, a migrant worker, a family member of a migrant worker, or be the child of a Swiss national who's in the UK, again with EUSS status awarded to them. And when it comes to applying to the EUSS status, if you were living in the UK prior to the end of last year, i.e. before the end of the withdrawal agreements, you will have what's called citizens' rights in the UK. So you can apply for an EUSS status up to the end of June, but you need to get those applications in as soon as possible. But if you are arriving in the UK after the 1st of January this year, unless you are joining a family member who's in the UK with EUSS status, then you'll be under the new immigration rules and you need to get a visa to come here, and the chances are you will not be able to apply for any student support to help you during your courses. Again, there's a signpost at the bottom there. So for more details about eligibility, because it can be quite complicated, and even if you are a UK Armed Forces member and you are serving outside of the UK, again, there's more information for you available online, and that is gov.uk/advanced-learner-loan/eligibility. So moving on to the actual support you can access. So in terms of the overall picture of advanced learner loans, for the majority of level 3-4 qualifications, learners can apply for up to a maximum of 4 advanced learner loans, and you can even access more than one at the same time. But there are some different rules in place for certain types of courses, and that is important for what we're talking about today, which is access. So if you are doing A-levels, on paper, you can actually apply up to 8 loans to cover you for up to 4 A-levels. But if you are doing an access to HE diploma, you can only apply for 1 advanced learner loan to get you through that qualification. And that is the case unless what we call a compelling personal reason has made you need to withdraw or drop out or not complete your earlier access HE course. Okay, so if you have suffered a bereavement or illness or disability or mental health condition, etc., and that's caused you to drop out of a previous access to HE course, you may be able to apply for another one on that basis. But otherwise, advanced learner loan for an access course is a one-time only deal. And there's loads more information online, because I know that what I'm going through today is quite detailed, and I'm also covering quite a lot in a short space of time. So again, on the gov.uk pages, you'll find all the information you need to know about advanced learner loans, including the bursary fund, which can provide learners with some additional help towards some costs you may also have when you're studying. It could be things like childcare, travel, course materials. They are administered by your college, so just again, check out the details online. But again, speak to them again if you are unsure. And also at Student Finance England, we have a whole range of information across our social media channels and websites. So you can find us on the Student Room, Facebook, Twitter, UCAS, and we also have a dedicated channel on YouTube. Shifting the focus slightly to applications. So the easiest way to apply for an advanced learner loan is online, again through gov.uk. But if you can't apply online and you prefer to use a paper form, then those are also available to you. Some of the key messages. First off, quite importantly, you will need to check with the college and training provider to make sure the course you're looking at is eligible for support. They will need to provide you with a LAFIL, or a Learning and Funding Information Letter, to give it its full name, and you will need that to complete your application, as it contains some essential details we need about your course. Read, understand and agree to the loan terms and conditions, particularly when it comes to repayments. You need to understand what you're signing up for and how it all works. And then when you have applied, usually sort of in 2 weeks, if you apply online, we will send you out a letter confirming your eligibility and you are getting a loan. And obviously hang on to those just in case you need them, because they will also contain some important details like your customer reference number, which you will need to quote anytime you speak to us. And we are coming close to the launch date for the application service for advanced learner loans for courses starting in academic year 2021-22, and that is currently scheduled to open on Monday, June the 28th. And some other key messages about applications is also some of the evidence and identity details you may need to send us. So if you are a UK national and you have a current valid UK passport, you simply need to put those details on your application form, just so we can verify those details with the passport agency. If you don't have a current valid UK passport, or it has expired, you will need to send in things like your original birth certificate or adoption certificate. If you are an EU, EEA or Swiss national and you have an EUSS status, then you will need to provide a valid share code as part of your application process, just so we can verify that and your status with the Home Office. And you may also be required to send in things like your valid non-UK passport or biometric identity card, and details of employment or family relationships which depend on your status. So again, if you are qualifying as a migrant worker, you may need to see details of your UK employment, or if you're applying as the family member of an EU national or the child of a Swiss national, etc., then again, we may need to see evidence proving your link to the family member who qualifies under those categories. And if you are here under an immigration status such as refugee or humanitarian protection, then again, we may need to see information that the Home Office have given you just to verify your status and your eligibility to stay here in the UK. But again, online, gov.uk, I'm mentioning it a lot because it really is sort of the one place you can go for all this information. You'll find a page dedicated to applications on the Advanced Learner Loan pages online. My final section is just about repayments. And again, I don't want to bog you down with too many details, just to give you some of the main facts about student loan repayments. So you see under the title there, it says Plan 2, Student Loan Repayment Overview, because advanced learner loans are what we call Plan 2 student loans. So we're going to cover some of the main basics you need to know about how the repayments for these loans will work. So the main one is, how much do you need to earn before you start to repay? So for Plan 2 loans, it is an annually shifting threshold. It rises in line with what's called average earnings increases each April. But currently, as of April 6th this year, the new threshold annually is 27,295, monthly 22,274, or weekly 524, and that will be in place until next April. And the general principle is, if you're not earning over any of those thresholds, you won't be making repayments off your student loan. So 27,295 is the annual one. So that is a sort of the key thing you can look at when you're sort of working out how much you are earning and if you're going to be repaying. But as mentioned, there's also the monthly or the weekly figure. So when you start your job, you may be earning 26, maybe even £27,000 a year and think you're not going to be repaying your student loan. But in 1 month or in a week, your salary may go over that weekly or monthly threshold because of a bonus or overtime, you pick up an extra shift, etc., etc. So in that week or that month, you may very well make a repayment. But at the end of the tax year, if your salary doesn't equate out to the annual threshold, you can apply to us for a refund of any repayment you've made during that month or that week when you were earning over the limit. When do you start to repay? If you've been studying a full-time course, you are due to repay the April after you complete or leave or withdraw from that course. So even if your course does finish in the May or June of 1 year, you have until the next April before you start repaying anyway. And then bear in mind, those repayments only start once you are earning over that threshold. What do you repay? You'll be repaying 9% of anything you earn over the threshold. And if you are employed in the UK, the deductions will be made directly from your pay through the tax system. So as part of the application process, you give us a national insurance number. Then when you start working and start earning, your employer will make those deductions directly to HMRC, who will again then feed them through to us so we can deduct them from your student loan balance. You can make voluntary lump sum repayments if you want to get ahead of your student loan repayments. But again, you need to understand how this PAYE system works and if it's going to be in your best interest to make voluntary repayments before you make any contributions over the standard ones you are expected to make through your pay. Something that's quite unique about a student loan is the fact that if your income drops to below the threshold at any time, your repayments will stop. So if you do take a career break, you go traveling, you take a break to raise a family, worst comes to worst, you're between jobs for a little while and your income drops to below the threshold, your repayments are suspended. And there is a 30-year write-off period on the life of your student loan. And that starts ticking down the second you enter repayment, i.e. the April after you finish or leave your course, and will then keep on ticking down throughout those periods, even if you're not earning over the maximum thresholds at the time. So how do those repayments look in figures? There's a few examples here. So one of the common ones that we like to give, if your annual income was £30,000 a year under the current thresholds, that 9% will be deducted from £2,705 of that. So on a monthly basis, you'd be repaying £20 towards what you've taken out towards your advanced learner loan for your access course. And then quite importantly, because it's a long-standing myth in the world of student loans, if you do move or work overseas after your course, yes, you will still need to repay your course, and the general principles are still in place, i.e. that it will be 9% of anything you earn over the repayment threshold based on the currency of the country that you're living or working in. Interest, these are loans, so they do attract interest. So again, some facts about how the interest works. So there are variable rates attached to Plan 2 student loans. When you're in study, until you enter repayment, the interest will be applied at the maximum rate of retail prices index plus 3%. And that retail prices index rate is set once a year, usually using the figure from March, which is then applied and carried forward to the September. So until the September of this year, it is 2.6%, but we're expecting an announcement of what it will be from this September in the coming weeks. So again, keep an eye on our websites if you want to keep up to date with what the RPI figure will be from this September. And then when you enter repayment, the interest rate will change. And from that point, it will be linked to what you earn, and it will be variable from retail prices index only if you're earning under the current threshold, 27,295, or up to RPI plus 3% if you're earning over the maximum threshold, which at the moment is £49,130. Again, you can check all of these details online. And also, if you do apply for your student finance online, you will have an online repayment account. And from that, you'll be able to check your loan balance, see the interest that we've applied, let us know if there are any changes to your circumstances, make the voluntary repayments, all the kind of fun stuff like that you can manage online. So there is no reason why you should be in the dark about your student loan repayments. And again, online, gov.uk/repaying your student loan is a good source of more information about all of that. Kept some of the good news till last on this presentation, because there is actually some good news attached to student finance, and that is that there is something called a write-off policy for learners who take out access to HE diplomas. So the general principles are, we will be able to write off any outstanding advanced learner loan balance you owe for an access to HE course if you then go on and complete an eligible higher education course. So some of the eligibility criteria. First off, you do need to be eligible to receive tuition fee loan support from ourselves at Student Finance England. So again, it's ticking some of the main boxes. So if you're eligible for advanced learner loans and you haven't studied a higher education qualification before, then you should be entitled to student finance. If you have studied before, it doesn't necessarily rule you out of this. It just means that you won't be able to access student finance for your course, but you may still be fundamentally eligible. And you need to satisfy that on the first day of the first academic year of your course, which you will do by applying to us for funding. And then you need to complete a higher education qualification that is eligible for SFE funding. And that is most of the things that are in the higher education qualification family. So things like higher national diplomas, higher national certificates, foundation degrees, the range of honours degrees. So all of the qualifications that you might be looking at to go and study, as long as it is eligible for SFE funding, will be under this umbrella for the Advanced Learner Loan Write-Off Policy. And finally, so with this write-off policy, there is no limit on how much that will be written off. It's going to be the full outstanding balance of your Advanced Learner Loan at the course end date. So that could be just what you borrow. It could be what you borrow plus some interest, if interest has been applied on it before we get around to writing it off. But what we will not be able to refund are any payments that you've made in the time between when you finish your Advanced Learner Loan course and when you finish your HE course. So if any stage you do earn over the threshold or you make voluntary repayments before you finish the course, we won't be able to refund those. But you know, if it is still the full balance that you've taken up for your Advanced Learner Loan and all the interest that's accrued throughout the time while you're on the Advanced Learner Loan course and you're on the HE course, all of that will be taken into account when we look at the write-off. It's quite a simple process. So once you finish your HE course, you shouldn't need to do anything. We should be able to look into your record and trigger it automatically. And that's the case unless you self-fund your HE course, i.e. you pay your own fees, and you don't access any support with us, or you don't make an application with us. If you do that, then you would need to let us know just so you can prove that you've completed the HE course. But if you have gone through it ourselves and you are eligible and you have access to support, then when you complete your HE course, we will simply check against all learner records to see if you have completed an access course. And if that is the case, then we will start the write-off process, and then we'll let you know what we're writing off and when it's going to be written off. Okay, so let's say just finishing off on a good message. But if you do have any other questions or you need to find any more information, then again, please do search us on gov.uk. There is a dedicated Advanced Learner Loan section. And again, as mentioned, we are all over the internet and social media, particularly our page on the Student Room has a lot of dedicated information specifically for Advanced Learner Loan applicants. Thank you for your time, and I hope you found that interesting.
Hi, I'm Simone Chalkley, and I did the Access to Humanities course at Cambridge Regional College, CRC, in Cambridge. My main motivation for going back to study was I originally was supporting a friend who wanted to go back to retrain because her qualifications were no longer adequate because of, you know, being a parent. And she'd been out of the kind of work and education for a long time. So I went with her to support her, got chatting to an English literature lecturer and thought, oh, that might be quite fun to go to university and study English literature. But it turned out I needed to actually do an access course first because I didn't have A levels at the time. And that's when I ended up going to CRC to take Access to Humanities. I felt incredibly supported when I did the Access course. So not only do you have your lecturers that obviously teach you and support you in each of the subjects that you take, you also get one of your teachers is usually also your kind of advisor type person, and you go to them with any problems that you have. But also the other thing that person does is take the study skills module. And the study skills is the vital part to help you to learn. So it's essay writing, exam practice, revision guidance, all of the things that you need to get through your course, how to write an essay, how to find good sources for your essays, all of those kind of things. Those are the things that you really need. Presentation skills and PowerPoint kind of presentation things, all that kind of stuff. So everything that you need is there to hand. I enjoyed all of it. And I know that sounds ridiculous. It was really hard work, don't get me wrong. It was really difficult. There was so much to do, so much to remember, so many new skills to learn, but I genuinely really loved it and gave it my all. I mean, I especially loved English literature because we had to read a book a week and write about those books. And I enjoyed all of the things that were chosen because there were things that I'd never thought of reading for myself. History, I learned loads about women's rights, and I learned loads about the history of Britain that I didn't really know very much of before. So it taught me more about democracy and things like that. And also sociology is a really interesting thing to study, because in that was the weirdest thing for me. Coming from a working class background, I started studying about how women from working class backgrounds are end up struggling in the education system. So it was a bit meta for me, because I was like learning about myself, learning about struggling in education, and that was just, yeah, that was mind-blowing. So yeah, really, really interesting. So the access to humanities diploma really did prepare me for university, because before I had done it, I didn't know anything about how to structure essays. I didn't really know anything about approaches to learning, such as feminism or Marxism or structuralism and all the other many isms that there are. The other thing that it did as well was to give me confidence to stand up in front of people and talk and do presentations. I think when I got to university, there were people that were still struggling with those things. And so I was really happy that I had done the course, because I felt prepared. It was amazing. It was a shock. I was obviously incredibly pleased, but I had no idea, one, that I was being put in for it, and two, that when I got shortlisted, that the person who I was up against, I knew was really good at writing, and I'd actually been to see one of his plays performed, I think either the semester before or the year before. So I was really nervous. And also the people who were judging it. So there was a particular judge called Tim Blake Wertenbaker, who I really admired from my time at CRC, because we studied one of her plays called Our Country's Good. And I'd never got to see her at UEA doing talks and things, because she's a part of UEA. So when I found out that she had judged my play and liked it, and that I had won, I was over the moon. I was just like, wow, first introductions. So that was, yeah, brilliant. My plans now are many. First of all, to keep on writing. That's the main thing. I wrote so many plays and mini films and films at university, and some prose and some poetry, not much poetry. Maybe I'd like to do some more of that, but I think that's the main thing, is to keep up the writing every single day, and to enter some competitions or get my work to a standard that I feel like I can approach somewhere to get it pitched, so that maybe one day someone might get to see one of my films on the small screen or the big screen, something like that. The other thing that I'm doing, I was an editor and a proofreader before I started doing the course anyway. So I'm continuing to use the skills as well to make other people's writing better, like I always have. So my advice to anyone who's considering doing an Access to HE diploma is go for it. Research what it is that you want to do, look at the different courses, look at the pathways perhaps as well, to see where they can take you, because each of the courses is slightly different and you will go into different fields. But just, there's no harm in going to have a look, there's no harm in going along, and you might end up surprising yourself. And I think that you'll find it really enjoyable and interesting, and I don't think you'll regret it. So yeah, go to an open day. So I think this was the most difficult question of all. How would I summarize my time, my experience? I I've actually got 4 words. They all mean kind of similar things. I think the best one, I suppose, would be valuable. It was a valuable time. It was a valuable experience to me, because even if I hadn't have done anything afterwards and I'd have just carried on living my life how I was living it, I learned so much, not just about everything to do with English literature. I also learned a lot about myself as well. Okay, my other words were rewarding, worthwhile, and positive. So each of those things are things that sprang to mind when I thought of my Access course.